We continue to hear from Barcelona players on Lionel Messi's departure from the club. Frenkie de Jong on Instagram saying as a child he watched all of his matches on television with his brother. When I arrived at Barcelona 2 years ago, I found out myself that you're a great person. It was a dream for me to play with the best player ever. I have loved every minute on the pitch. I will continue to enjoy your magic. But as it once started for me, it will be in front of the television. Thank you for everything, Lowe. Sid Lowe and Jules Laurent joining me now to continue to talk about this story, which seems to be developing every day as well. What we do know, Sid, is that tomorrow there will be a press conference with Lionel Messi. What can we expect from it? Is it adios from him?
I think it is. I think Joan Laporta made that pretty clear in his press conference. It is true that Laporta did kind of leave that very, very tiny hint there that, you know, if something extraordinary happens, if there was suddenly some way back, if there was suddenly some way to deal with the financial situation, then maybe something could be done. But he said we have to live in the real world. The reality is what it is, that Barcelona have no margin in terms of getting under the salary limits, that there's no way of keeping Messi. And in fact, it goes beyond Messi, by the way. It's not just Messi. They will have to still lose other players. And he said that all of these kind of ideas, for example, you know, someone coming in and buying a player at the last minute or some money coming in from somewhere, or even the idea of Messi playing for free, all of these are hypothetical situations that we can't really entertain. We have to live in the real world. And so he's going. And it just feels, obviously, look, it's very sad anyway, the departure of Lionel Messi, but I think the departure of him like this and for these kind of reasons is kind of unforgivable, really. It's unforgivable that the club was managed this badly to have reached this point. It was unforgivable that he reached the point that he reached last summer. Unforgivable that it now reaches this point that it does this summer. And also, by the way, Kate, it's unforgivable to put me on the show with Jules so that Jules can sit there smiling and say, I've got Leo Messi, you haven't.
I know, but you can see a big smile from Jules. We had to endure it as well last night when he was on with us here on ESPN FC. But just to stick with it, Sid, how on earth did it get here? How did it get so bad that Barcelona are losing Lionel Messi?
Well, look, there are lots of things that have gone wrong, and we could be here literally all night going through these. But let's try and make it as basic as we possibly can. Put very simply, overspending for a long time. Overspending for a long time. Then, of course, the pandemic comes, and that's what pushes Barcelona over the edge. But, of course, the reason they could be pushed over the edge is because they were too close to it for too long. You look back, for example, and you see the departure of Neymar, and that was, I think, a big part of all of this. And it's curious, of course, that Neymar left and then tried to come back, and now he is playing with Messi, but because Messi has been forced to go as well. Barcelona, that should, at least in financial terms, have been good for them. But having that money in their pocket basically encouraged them to go out and spend even more. They spent 150 million euros on Dembélé, 160 million euros on Coutinho, 120 million euros on Antoine Griezmann. These are just the headline players, and there have been many, many more. And there have been many more that I think in some ways are more of a problem, because there have been many more slightly less talented players earning very, very large salaries. Then you had long-term footballers like Sergio Busquets, like Jordi Alba, like Sergio Roberto, like Gerard Piqué. And none of this, by the way, should be read as a criticism of these players directly, who were then on very, very large salaries. What happens when you get into an economic crisis that everybody knows about is that the one way out, of course, is to sell your players and to reduce your salary limits, to reduce the amount that you have to spend on salary. But Barcelona couldn't do that, partly because every other club knew that they were desperate. Laporta put it in very simple terms the other day. 110% of the money that comes into Barcelona at the moment goes out on salaries. That's unsustainable. Even with the departure of Messi, 95% of the money that comes in from everything, from all income and all areas of the club, is spent on salaries. That too is unsustainable, which is why, as I say, it's not just Messi. There will have to be other departures as well. So it's financial mismanagement, not from this current board of directors, from the previous board of directors, added to the specifics of the crisis that football faces at the moment with the pandemic, added to the specifics as well, by the way, of the fact that Lionel Messi was out of contract. Now that's very, very, very important. Why? Because it means he was the one that's effectively the last in. Because, of course, had he signed for Barcelona, he'd have done so as a free agent. In other words, he's the one that doesn't get registered. Had he already been within the squad, Barcelona could have decided, okay, well, it's Samuel Umtiti that we don't register, or it's Jordi Alba that we don't register, or whoever it may be. But it was a perfect storm of circumstances, basically a situation driven by the previous board, and one that was completely unsustainable. And even this isn't the solution, but it's a step towards it.
The most perfect of all circumstances for PSG, though, Jules, it's looking more and more likely 24 hours later, as if we didn't already think this, that it will be PSG where Messi plays his football next.
That's right, Kay. We had more information today on the moves of the Messi family's lawyers, for example, arriving in France, the little details, the commissions, the image rights, all of those details that were still being sorted out really by the two camps. We know that PSG had been working for a while now on a offer, on a contract for Messi in case the day where he would leave Barcelona would happen, then they would be ready. That's why also I think all the negotiations and all the discussions have gone quite quick, in fairness, because this is a huge contract, because it's Leo Messi, and yet they found some sort of agreement pretty quickly, because I think PSG had been doing a lot of work already, like we've been reporting on the show. What I find quite incredible is that if you go back to that summer 2017 when Neymar moved, when PSG paid that release clause, that 222 million euros release clause, it was Neymar Senior who called Nasser El Khelaifi, the PSG chairman, the PSG president, and said, okay, Neymar wants to leave Barcelona, he wants to come to PSG. Of course, before that, they had already discussed that eventuality, but it was the call from Neymar's dad, and on Thursday night, it was Leo Messi's dad who picked his phone up and called Nasser El Khelaifi in a very, very similar phone call, just 4 years on, about, hey, my son is going to leave Barcelona, can he come to PSG? Is this possible? Can you make it happen? What kind of contract can you offer? What kind of money can you offer us? And since that day, since that moment, things have gone really quickly. But again, it's history repeating itself between Barcelona and some of their best players, and one of the greatest of all time, and then PSG as well, and I find that striking.
And almost 4 years to the day as well, Jules, that happened with Neymar. You're looking at this now with Messi, and so much talk about how that front three could look at PSG, and we'll get to that in just a moment. What have you made of those criticising if Messi is to go and take this move? Because you have to look at it. Does he have any other option of anywhere else to go right now other than PSG?
Well, we know that he wants to play in Europe to be competitive for the World Cup in Qatar in 16 months now. So I think that rules out, no offense to MLS or to the Argentinian league, for example. But that means no going back to Argentina to play there, or no going yet to MLS. So he would stay in Europe. In Europe, as we mentioned on the show last night, none of the English clubs right now, because they took different directions, United, City, Chelsea, are in for Messi right now. No Bayern Munich. In Italy, they're all broke, and in Spain, it's either Barca or Real Madrid. He's not going to go to Real Madrid, and Real Madrid probably can't pay those kind of wages anyway. So it's only PSG. They are the only club that he wants, okay, but they're also the only club able to offer him a contract like this, 40 million a year for 2 years plus an extra one in option. There was no one else. So it was either he would find an agreement with PSG, or he would have to reduce even more his wages demands, and maybe then other clubs could have been there and make some kind of offer, but I'm not even sure who, to be honest. So it was always going to be PSG, I think, from the moment that he would have decided to leave or been forced to leave Barcelona.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.